Hey everyone, another ULM explainer. Let's talk about going green. We all know the drill reusable bags, energy-efficient light bulbs, driving a car that runs on hopes and dreams because gas is so expensive. We're all trying to save the planet one tiny step at a time. But what if I told you that your choice of plastic rectangle, the one you use to buy those organic chia seeds, could actually make a difference? Stay with me here, folks. This is about to get weird. It turns out that using your credit card might actually be for the environment than using your trusty debit card. I know, right? Mind blown. But hold your horses before you start charging your way to a greener planet. There's more to this story than meets the eye. Okay, so here's the deal. Credit card companies, those titans of industry who love nothing more than charging you exorbitant interest rates, well, some of them are trying to clean up their act. And no, I'm not talking about just wiping their servers clean of all those embarrassing late fees they've charged you. I'm talking about actual legitimate sustainability initiatives. Think carbon offset programs, investments in renewable energy, and maybe even planting a tree or two, although let's be honest, they probably just pay someone else to do it. Now, before you start thinking that these credit card companies have suddenly grown a conscience, let's be clear, they're still businesses. But, and this is a big but, their environmental efforts can actually have a real impact. Why? Because they're massive corporations with a lot of money and resources, and sometimes just they use those resources for good. It's a Christmas miracle. So, how are these credit card companies actually making a difference? Well, some of them are investing in renewable energy projects like wind farms and solar power. Others are supporting carbon offset programs, which basically means they're paying to reduce emissions somewhere else to make up for the emissions they're responsible for. It's like buying a get-out-of-jail-free card for the environment, but instead of getting out of jail, you're just, not destroying the planet as quickly. Now, I'm not saying these programs are perfect. There's a lot of debate about their effectiveness, and some people argue that they're just a way for companies to greenwash their image without actually making real changes. And to be fair, those people aren't entirely wrong, but hey, at least it's a step in the right direction, right? Here's the thing though, the type of card you're using, credit or debit, is actually less important than the financial institution that issued it. That's right, folks, it's not about the plastic itself, it's about the bank behind the plastic. You see, some banks are just better than others when it comes to environmental responsibility. Some banks invest heavily in fossil fuels while others are pouring money into renewable energy. Some banks are actively working to reduce their carbon footprint while others are still stuck in the dark ages, burning through energy like it's going out of style. So, before you start feeling smug about using your credit card to save the planet, take a look at your bank's environmental track record. You might be surprised at what you find. And if you don't like what you see, well, there's a simple solution for that. Switch to a more sustainable bank. It's easier than you think, and it could actually make a real difference. The real cost of plastic from oil wells to your wallet. Let's not forget about the cards themselves. Those little rectangles of plastic don't just magically appear in your wallet, They have a whole life cycle from production to disposal. And it's not exactly pretty. First, there's the raw material plastic. Most credit cards are made from polyvinyl chloride, or PVC, which is derived from fossil fuels. Yes, that's right, your credit card is basically a tiny oil spill waiting to happen. The production process for PVC is energy intensive and releases harmful toxins into the environment. Then there's the transportation. Your card has to travel from the factory where it's made to the bank that issues it to your mailbox and finally to your wallet. That's a lot of miles and a lot of carbon emissions. And finally, when your card expires or you decide to upgrade to a fancier one with more cashback rewards, it ends up in a landfill where it can take hundreds of years to decompose. Depressing, right? The energy suck of spending debit versus credit. But wait, there's more. It's not just the production and disposal of the cards themselves that have an environmental impact. The way you use your cards matters too. Every time you swipe your debit card, your bank has to communicate with the merchant's bank to authorize the transaction. This process requires energy, which, you guessed it, often comes from fossil fuels. Credit cards, on the other hand, work a little differently. When you use a credit card, you're essentially borrowing money from the credit card company. The transaction is processed later, and the energy used to process it is spread out over time. So, in theory, using a credit card could actually result in lower energy consumption per transaction than using a debit card. Of course, this is all relative. If you're constantly maxing out your credit card and carrying a balance, you're probably negating any environmental benefits by racking up interest charges and late fees. And let's be real, you're probably also causing yourself a lot of unnecessary stress. But hey, at least you're not harming the planet, right? Paper trails, the hidden cost of your checking account. Here's something else to consider. All those paper statements and checks that come with your checking account, yeah, those aren't doing the environment any favors either. Think about it. Trees have to be cut down to make the paper. The paper has to be transported to printing facilities. The statements have to be mailed to your house. And then, if you're like most people, they probably just end up in the recycling bin, or worse, the trash, without ever being read. It's a vicious cycle of environmental destruction, and it's all fueled by your desire to keep track of your finances the old-fashioned way. Now, I'm not saying you should abandon your checking account altogether, but maybe it's time to start embracing the digital age and opt for paperless statements. Most banks offer this option these days, and it's an easy way to reduce your environmental impact. Plus, you'll save yourself the hassle of dealing with all that paper clutter. It's a win-win. The digital revolution, online banking, and a greener future. Speaking of the digital age, let's talk about online banking for a minute. Remember when you used to have to actually go to a bank branch to deposit a check or transfer money between accounts? Those were dark times, my friends, but thanks to the wonders of technology, we can now do all of our banking from the comfort of our own homes, or let's be honest, from our phones while waiting in line at the grocery store. And guess what? Online banking is not only more convenient, it's also better for the environment. Think about all the gas you save by not driving to the bank. Think about all the paper that's not being used for bank statements and checks. Think about all the energy that's not being wasted on lighting and air conditioning in those massive bank branches. It all adds up, folks. So the next time you're about to hop in your car and drive to the bank, ask yourself this: do I really need to do this, or can I just do it online and save myself some time, money, and environmental guilt? The answer in most cases is probably the latter. Putting your money where your mouth is. Choosing a sustainable bank. So you're feeling inspired to make a difference, but you're not sure where to start? Well, the first step is to do your research. There are a lot of resources available online that can help you evaluate the environmental track record of different banks. Look for banks that are transparent about their sustainability practices, that have made commitments to reducing their carbon footprint, and that are investing in renewable energy and other green initiatives. Once you've found a few banks that align with your values, it's time to compare their products and services. Don't just focus on interest rates and fees. Consider things like the availability of paperless statements, the bank's policies on financing fossil fuel projects, and their overall commitment to corporate social responsibility. Choosing a bank is a big decision, and it's one that you shouldn't take lightly. By doing your research and choosing a sustainable bank, you can rest assured that your money is being used in a way that aligns with your values. Plus, you'll be sending a message to the financial industry that consumers care about the environment and that they're willing to put their money where their mouth is. So, you're saying I should get credit card? Now, before you go running off to open a dozen new credit cards in the name of environmentalism, let me stop you right there. I'm not saying that you should go into debt to save the planet. In fact, I would strongly advise against that. Remember, credit cards are a tool, and like any tool, they can be used for good or evil. If you're going to use credit cards, use them responsibly. Pay your bills on time, avoid carrying a balance, and don't spend more than you can afford. And please, for the love of all that is holy, don't open a bunch of new credit card accounts just to get the sign-up bonuses. That's not helping anyone, least of all the environment. Section 11, the bottom line: spend responsibly, save the planet maybe. So what's the takeaway from all of this? Well, it's complicated. There's no easy answer when it comes to the environmental impact of our financial choices. But here's what we do know. Credit card companies are not off the hook when it comes to environmental responsibility. The type of card you use is less important than the bank that issued it. Online banking is generally better for the environment than traditional banking. And most importantly, We all have a role to play in creating a more sustainable future. So, the next time you pull out your wallet to make a purchase, take a moment to think about the environmental impact of your choice. It might seem like a small thing, but every little bit helps. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, if we all do our part, we can create a better world. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go pay my credit card bill online. It's the least I can do. Subscribe for more.